In 3 years, you will either be penniless or part of the top 2% elite. If you close this video right now, you've already chosen the first path. You've chosen to stay in the crowd that trades their life for pennies, cheap entertainment, and someone else's script. You've chosen to be a background character. But if you stay, get ready. There will be no motivational fairy tales for the weak here. We are going to crack the reality code of the 2% who own this world. We will deconstruct the architecture of their success down to the atoms. You will find out why your brain is lying to you, why your friends are pulling you to the bottom, and why your comfort is your slow death. Turn on your brain. We are beginning the deep dive into the mindset of those who have stopped being slaves to circumstance. Look around. Right now, at this very second, billions of people are participating in a grand race to nowhere. You see them in the subway, in traffic jams, in endless social media feeds. They look busy, but they're empty inside. They run to jobs they despise to earn money they don't have enough of, just to impress people whose opinions don't matter. This is the world of the 98%, a world of voluntary slavery disguised as stability. School teaches you to be obedient parts of a mechanism. University teaches you not to ask unnecessary questions. Corporations teach you to trade your time, your only irreplaceable resource, for paper. And then you're 40, 50, 60 years old, and you realize your life was just a script written by someone else. You were a spectator at your own celebration. But there is the 2%, those who have seized the helm. Those whose eyes burn not from the light of a monitor, but from an inner fire. They aren't smarter than you. They don't have special genes. They have something more powerful, an architecture of thinking that turns any chaos into their personal empire. Today, we aren't giving you cheap advice. We are going to crack the code of this success and show you how these 2% operate. If you're ready for your familiar picture of the world to be shattered into pieces, listen to every word. The first reason you are still where you are is your addiction to cheap dopamine. The modern world is a giant candy store for your brain. Social media, short videos, endless notifications, pornography, fast food, sugar. You are living in a state of constant, chronic information overload. Your brain is evolutionarily wired to seek rewards. In ancient times, the reward was food or tribal recognition after a hard hunt. Today, you get the same chemical reaction just by scrolling a feed with your thumb. Why would your body build a business, learn a difficult language, or go to the gym if it can get the happiness hormone with one click while lying on the couch? 98% of the population are dopamine junkies. They waste their mental energy on arguments in the comments and watching someone else's luxurious life. Meanwhile, the 2% are on a strict information diet. They understand attention is the new currency. If you don't control your attention, it is controlled by corporate algorithms that need to sell you another useless thing. Want to join the elite? First, cut the wires. Kill the need to be in the loop with the news. News of a disaster on the other side of the world won't make you richer or stronger. It will only steal your energy. The leaders of the 2% consume information only as a tool for action. Everything else is trash. The second trap is the belief in infinite time. This is humanity's most dangerous hallucination. You wake up and think, I still have plenty of time. I'll start this project on Monday. I'll take care of my health once I pay off the loan. I'll talk to my loved ones when vacation comes. The truth is, tomorrow does not exist. It's a concept invented by cowards to justify their inaction today. Time doesn't just pass, it flies. Every second you spend on doubt is a second you've stolen from your best version. 98% of people live as if they are immortal and die as if they never lived. They fear risk. They fear judgment from neighbors or colleagues. This fear is the mediocrity tax. You pay it every time you choose comfort over a challenge. The elite understands there is no perfect moment. The economy will always be unstable, and you will always feel not ready enough. 2% of people jump into the abyss and build the plane on the way down. While you are planning, they are doing. While you are making mistakes in theory, they are gaining painful but priceless experience in practice. Failure for them is not a stop sign. It is the tuition fee. Are you afraid they will laugh at you? Remember, a lion does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep. Those who criticize you are usually sitting in the stands and have never stepped into the arena themselves. The only person you are responsible to is the one you will see in the mirror in 20 years. What will they say to you? Thank you for your courage? Or, why were you too afraid to take a risk? Now we come to the most painful point, the moment where most of you will want to turn off this video. Why? Because we are about to strip you of the coziest, most familiar blanket in your life, your right to excuses. 98% of people live in a state of chronic victimhood. Listen to what they say. I'm underpaid because my boss is a jerk. I'm lonely because there are no decent partners left. I'm in bad shape because I have a slow metabolism. This is mental poison. As soon as you name an external reason for your failure, you hand over the power over your life to that reason. You voluntarily become a slave to circumstances. The elite, the top 2%, live by the rule of radical responsibility. It is an axiom that states, everything that happens in your life is the result of your actions or your inaction. Period. Your bank account is a precise barometer of your value to the market. Your reflection in the mirror is a report card on every calorie consumed and every workout skipped. Your strained relationships are the consequence of your inability to communicate or choose the right people. Sounds brutal? It is. But within that harshness lies absolute freedom. If you are the cause of your problems, it means you are also the solution. When you take 100% responsibility, the need to complain vanishes. You stop wasting energy looking for someone to blame and start spending it on finding the levers of control. The 2% don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, how can I use this to become stronger? Radical responsibility extends to your internal world as well. Most people are puppets in the hands of other people's emotions. A waiter brings cold coffee, and the mood is ruined. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and the day turns into a stream of bitterness. A colleague gives a sideways glance, and they spend half the night replaying that dialogue in their head. Understand this. No one can make you feel humiliated or angry without your consent. Between the stimulus and your response, there is always a tiny gap, the space of your freedom. 98% of people react automatically, like trained dogs. The 2% make a pause. The Stoics called this the inner citadel. It is a state of mind where external events cannot breach your internal order. You don't control the weather, you don't control exchange rates, and you don't control the nonsense people spew. So why on earth are you handing them the keys to your peace of mind? Elite leaders choose their reactions. If a problem is solvable, they solve it. If not, they ignore it. Wasting nerves on things beyond your control is intellectual suicide. It is the fastest way to burn the fuel required for your greatness. Your environment dictates your ceiling. There is an old rule. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at your friends. What do they talk about? Plans for world domination, investments, new skills? Or do they gossip, complain about politicians, and wait for Friday to drown their brains in alcohol? If you are in a room where you are the smartest and most ambitious person, you are in the wrong room. You are stagnating. Mediocrity is contagious. It acts like a virus. First, you just listen to their complaints. Then you begin to sympathize. And a year later, you find yourself thinking, you just can't get ahead in this country. The 2% carry out a ruthless selection of their social circle. They do not fear solitude. For them, it's better to be alone than in the company of those dragging them to the bottom. They seek mentors. They look for those 10 levels above them. They are willing to be the dumbest person in a room of millionaires because that is the only way to grow. Your old friends might get offended. They will say you've changed or become arrogant. In reality, they're just afraid of your progress because it acts like a mirror, highlighting their own insignificance. If you want to fly with eagles, stop scratching with turkeys. This rule knows no exceptions. The biggest lie business coaches ever sold you is the importance of motivation. You wait for inspiration to start a business. You wait for the right mood to go to the gym. You look for a spark to pick up a book. Understand, motivation is cheap sugar syrup. It gives a short-term energy spike and then dumps you into a pit of apathy. Relying on motivation is like trying to power a city with a lightning strike. It's bright and powerful, but it lasts a second. The 2% who rule the world have replaced motivation with discipline. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, regardless of how much you don't want to do it. It's when you wake up at 5 a.m., freezing rain is hitting the window, your brain is screaming, "Stay in bed, we've earned the rest," and you silently put on your running shoes. Discipline is the absence of self-negotiation. The moment you start debating with your brain whether you should or shouldn't work today, you've already lost. The brain will always choose the path of least resistance. It is wired for survival and energy conservation, not for your triumph. The 2% have trained their minds to follow orders without discussion. You are the general. Your brain is the soldier. A soldier does not argue with an order. The modern world is obsessed with comfort. Orthopedic mattresses, 15-minute food delivery, climate control, silent cars. We are told that stress is bad and peace is the goal. But look at nature. Peace is the state of a corpse. Life is a constant struggle against entropy. Your muscles won't grow until you start tearing their fibers under the weight. Your intelligence won't sharpen until you face a task that melts your brain. Your character won't strengthen until you pass through betrayal, defeat, and hardship. 98% of people flee from discomfort. As soon as things get hard or inconvenient, they quit. The 2% march straight toward the sound of the cannons. They practice voluntary suffering. They take ice-cold showers. They fast. They consciously choose the most difficult tasks. Why? To expand their comfort zone to the size of the universe. When you become accustomed to pain, you become anti-fragile. While everyone else panics at the first sign of crisis, a person from the 2% feels at home. They know where there is fear, there is growth. If you were too comfortable today, it means the day was wasted. You haven't moved, which means you've regressed. We live in an era of short attention spans. Everyone wants quick results in 30 days. But greatness is not built in a sprint. It is built in a marathon. There is a concept that the 2% understand perfectly: embracing the boredom. The path to any outstanding result is 90% monotonous, repetitive, and damn boring work. It's thousands of hours of coding, millions of repetitions of the same strike, years of studying dry numbers. Most people give up at this stage. They lose interest and start looking for a new passion. But success is not a firework display. Success is mundane work performed flawlessly. The elite fall in love with the process, not just the result. They get a rush from knowing that today they did their work 1% better than yesterday. And most importantly, they work in the shadows. While the 98% post every single step to their stories, desperate for validation from strangers, the 2% are grinding silently behind closed doors. They are invisible for years, and then they step into the light with a result that looks like magic. But it's not magic. It is years of discipline when no one was watching. No one was praising, and no one was supporting. Are you ready to work for 3 years without a single like, knowing that in the end, you will take everything? If not, stay in the crowd. Everything we've discussed so far crystallizes into one ancient concept, the operating system for the mind of every successful person, the dichotomy of control. The Stoic Epictetus formulated it with ultimate simplicity. There are things that depend on us and things that do not. 98% of people waste their lives trying to control what is beyond them. They worry about other people's opinions, the whims of the weather, the actions of the government, or the mistakes of the past. It's like trying to stop a hurricane with your thoughts. The result is always the same: exhaustion, anxiety, and a paralyzed will. The 2% direct all their energy, like a laser beam at a single point. What is under their full control? And under your control, there are only 3 things: your own judgments, your intentions, and your actions. If the market crashes tomorrow and you lose all your money, that is outside your control. But how you react to it and whether you start rebuilding that very second, that is your choice. When you stop fighting reality and start working with what is in your hands, you become invincible. You no longer have bad days. You only have new data points. The elite possess 2 secret levers that transform them from ordinary humans into titans. The first is memento mori, remember death. Most people hide this thought in the darkest corner of their minds. They fear death, so they live as if they have an eternity in reserve. The Stoic, however, keeps death on his shoulder. This isn't pessimism. It is the highest form of clarity. When you realize that this day could be your last, the fear of minor failure vanishes. You stop wasting time on empty talk, on grudges, on consuming useless content. Death burns away the fluff, leaving only what truly matters. It is the best filter humanity has ever invented. The second lever is amor fati, love of fate. This isn't just resignation. It is an active acceptance of everything life throws at you. If you face betrayal, love it because it made you wiser. If you get sick, love it because it forced you to slow down and reassess your priorities. The 2% don't just take the blows of fate, they use them as fuel. Just as a fire devours everything thrown into it and only grows higher and hotter, a great person turns every obstacle into fuel for their triumph. For a Stoic, there are no obstacles. The obstacle itself becomes the path. Before you take action, you must pass through a catastrophe rehearsal. The elite practice premeditatio malorum, the deliberate visualization of the worst-case scenario. While the 98% engage in positive thinking and visualize yachts, the 2% calculate the darkest outcome. What if the project fails? What if I'm abandoned? What if I'm left with nothing? They live through that fear in advance, find a solution, and they stop being afraid. When you are prepared for the worst, you are impossible to catch off guard. You act with the confidence of a man who has nothing to lose. This freedom from fear is that scent of a predator we mentioned at the very beginning. This video is coming to an end, but for you, it is only the beginning. You are now at the point of no return. You have received the access code to the reality of that 2%. You have learned about radical responsibility, the cult of discomfort, iron discipline, and Stoic unshakability. Now you have 2 paths. The first is to close this tab, return to cheap dopamine, continue complaining about life, and in 10 years, find yourself among that same gray mass of the 98%, dreaming that someday things will change. The second is to kill the victim inside you right now. Throw the trash out of your head. Delete the useless apps. Write a plan of action for tomorrow, and wake up at 5 a.m. to start building your citadel. No one is coming to save you. There is no lucky break. There is only you, your time, and your will. You can be a spectator or you can be an architect. The world belongs to those willing to pay for it with discipline and pain. Who will you be? The choice is yours. Welcome to the game.